Hi, I'm Candace Lehenbauer, and I'm here today with my husband, Bear. And we thought we would talk to you about homeschooling options and building trust in microschools and homeschools for middle school and high school kids. And I wanted to invite my husband, Bear, because he is a genius when it comes to teenagers. Anyway, this year he helped lead our high school micro school, and he's also a dad of 6 kids. And I thought it would be really great to get his advice on um, how to do it a different way. So, Bear, is there any main takeaway that you would say would be for somebody who is thinking about doing homeschooling for middle school or high school?
Well, I think something that will maybe fluster some homeschool parents that know what they're doing and feel very comfortable with it is the fact that when you're in middle school and high school, just sitting across the table from your parent isn't as fun anymore. So the biggest change for them at that age is going to be a social group and how important that is to be part of their educational experience. If it's just another year of online, even if you're traveling the world, the social group is such an important piece of their learning. It helps them put things in perspective. It helps them connect the teaching that they're getting with the real world around them. It also makes it more enjoyable, especially if you've been homeschooling all the way up to this point where they're in that age group now.
So true. So when we very first, well, we have 6 kids. So our our oldest daughter, she homeschooled for 10 out of the 12 years. When she was in 10th grade, she went to our local public high school. She didn't really enjoy that very much, but she did okay. She did a great job. The next year, she decided to do online school, right? And we didn't like that one as much because she was social with the people online, but then when the computer closed, she was wondering who her friends were. So that was kind of lonely for her. So the last year, we thought, let's try community college. And then we didn't like the community college vibe for this kid. And so we decided to go back to the public high school, and she did AP classes for her final year and ended up getting her regular diploma. Our next kid just did high school through the public school, right? We have a lot of kids, so we've got a lot of different ways that we did it. He was homeschooled up through 8th grade. Then our next child did something similar. But then the next one after that, we decided to just do homeschool the whole way. And she just graduated this year, which was kind of exciting. So that was our first person. But I remember that year in 9th grade, she went from being in our micro school slash homeschool group where there was people every day that she would know and love and do things with to that year she was like, nope, I want to do something different. So she chose that she wanted to do online classes, and I remember that year being really lonely for her. And um, anyway, so we worked really hard to build up a group to to do things together with. So anyway, what suggestions would you have for families to help transition from being by themselves doing online and then finding other things to do?
So the exploring of programs is probably the most homework for the parent. Looking around, you can be helped by directories. There's a microschoolflorida.com directory for Florida where these non-traditional programs can be listed in your area. I think the normal Google searches are not as effective for this type of thing, but you do need to do some homework to look around. I would suggest that you also consider one-day programs or one-off activities so that you can get a feel for what is available and what clicks best for your learner. Once you've got a couple of experiences like that, then you can start making a determination as to whether that's the right path for you and your learner. And if it's something that you financially can put your, whether it's scholarship money around or if your educational investment fund is available, and if you have an interest to have them start building multiple different social networks, you can have them involved in multiple different programs. But at some point, there should be some form of outlet for them to be social, and it should be something that is consistent for them. If it's constantly changing, then it's hard for that fabric to take effect and for the strength of those connections to grow.
I totally agree. Also, I know that sometimes families will come to our micro school and they won't have anything else going on, and that can feel really lonely for them too. So if you have like, well, for our kids, for example, they're plugged into a lot of different things. So they have a robotics team that they go to that we know and love the mentors and the families that are there. So they can go a couple of times a week or more if they're super excited. They do a church youth group that they meet with on Sundays and one night a week. What are some of the other things that they do? We have
They go running with a running group in town. They're involved with 4-H activities, and some of them are more involved than others, but in musical uh, pursuits, and so they're able to do things like lessons or what's it called when everybody gets together for the recital?
a concert recital. Yeah.
Okay, that type of thing.
Yeah, definitely. But you need to find lots of different things. I know some of our neighbors have done like Civil Air Patrol or the Boy Scouts. There are lots of things to do to find a community, but definitely find multiple ways where you're going to see families, other people on a regular basis, and it really helps to build community. I know that was one thing that I didn't like so much when some of our boys went to public schools. I felt like before we really knew the families really well, so there was this a community feeling. But when they went away to the public school, I felt like, oh, darn it, they're hanging out with so and so, but I don't know anything about this family. I don't know their backdrop, so it was a different, not saying that one was better than the other, but I personally, as a mom, really enjoyed it when we got to know the whole family. And I feel like our kids' robotics team is like that. That has kids from all over the community, so it's not just the homeschoolers that join. But anyway, finding organizations where families can be together is a nice thing, even though the robotics club is where they would just go and be just them being there, but having families involved with things would be great. So, are there any tips or guidelines that you would say? I know. So, in our marriage, my husband is the one who loves to stay up late and talk with our teens. I think that's their magical hour. What would you say?
I think it's probably that way for many teens. They still need and want a connection with their parents. I think it's good to have an avenue for them to be comfortable enough to share what they're going through because that is the phase of life where everything goes sideways. You've got more pressure on you to make choices. Your friends have different ideas, and you want to sound check what you're thinking about that with somebody that cares about you. So I think that is an important thing to consider is are you available for them when they need someone to connect to and bounce ideas off of?
For sure. I know sometimes I get tired at night and I don't like to do that. I probably should do better about that, but you've always been good about that, staying up late and having those deep discussions with the kids. And anyway, let's talk about just like only accredited online classes because we went down that path too, where we're like, no, it needs to be only an accredited online class for us to feel confident that their high school classes are going to get them where they need to go. I think over the years we've kind of shifted. So we've homeschooled for over 20 years and it's been a journey for us too. But what would you say, Bear?
Well, I think because we provide a program, it's the parents that are the ones that are the most fearful. It's the parents that are the ones that say, I want to make sure they get everything they would get in a public school. And that's the difficult disconnect because they left public school for a reason. What they're really saying is they don't want their child to be unable to get to college. They don't want their child to be unable to get a job in the future. Those are really the drivers behind the parents' fear right now of, I only want what the public school would offer. And the real takeaway here is if the learner is not being well served in the big box educational program, the parent is the first person that's probably got to show the courage to step back from that fear. Learners can learn in many ways, and more universities are offering a homeschool transcript option for people who are trying to apply to college so that they don't have to have the state mandated this number of credits. They don't have to have the transcript from that Department of Education stamped school. They're allowing and offering an open door for homeschoolers to have lots of experiences in the programs that are as rich and as tailored to their learner as possible. And the universities are finding that those students tend to do better emotionally and with their mental health and with their performance and output in their grades at the college level. So really something to give you a little courage as you step forward into that gray zone of, I haven't tried this before. Will this work? Can I do these other non-accredited programs? Try it and see if it makes your learner's mind thrive. And if their heart leaps with joy, then you're on the right path.
That's so true. It is true. It does take a lot of courage from parents to step away from that. So we had 6 kids. We were able to experiment with the first. So anyway, you just get yourself 6 kids and you can figure out what works best for your family. No, I'm just teasing. But anyway, just having confidence that the experiences and education that they're getting, even though they are not an accredited style class, is it's very liberating. And it also just allows you to know that there are so many ways that kids can learn in meaningful ways, even getting a job somewhere or volunteering and working at like Habitat for Humanity or at the local food shelter, different things that they can do. They're always building experiences and learning things wherever they are. So anyway, I just highly suggest to for parents to not worry so much about will they be okay. Focus on their character, focus on their happiness, the happiness in your family, and just do something every day to make yourself a better person and to help your kids achieve that. That brings me to just really quick though, one of my top 10 favorite books is called Thomas Jefferson Education. The whole premise is this: if you want your kids to be well educated, well rounded, good members of society, then you need to be that person yourself. You need to read books. You need to study and learn each day. You need to talk about it with your kids, and then your kids will watch you and want to become like you. So that's my main takeaway. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, that covers it very well. Just do what your wife wants.
That's right. Main takeaway. Thanks, Bear.